Welcome back into Homegrown Season 2, alongside your head baseball coach, Bill Gamble. Mitch Ballard back with you. And Coach, it's been a while since we were here. We have a number of things in store tonight, but first things first, we're going to wrap up the end of the 25 spring season before we kind of transition into the off season and catch up with some of the players we have. But first off, welcome back for year 2. Glad to see they renewed us.
How about that?
So we must did something.
We did something right
something
or a lot wrong, one of the two.
And they're making fun of us. But either way, we're here. But 26-4 season is how the 25 season ends. We send that class off. But let's kind of talk about that last year. You know, some big time records broken, big time accomplishments. Knocked a couple things off the checkmark board. But, you know, where do you want to go recapping last year?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. You know, first of all, a huge shout out to our alum, right? You know, that are off playing in college ball right now, and guys in their freshman year. You know, we just put up some really good numbers last year. And I think from the pitching standpoint, if you got a chance to see us, we were lights out almost the entire year. I think we broke multiple records that you'll see updated on all our boards that we keep out, you know, outside the dugout there in that patio area. Landon Theo leading us the way on that. 322 strikeouts, new school record, just annihilated that 240. Kind of seems minuscule until you actually look up at the mountain, then you kind of figure out now there's a new mountain, right?
Yeah.
To go climb. Dahl put up some, you know, all-state player of the year type year for us, and Landon Theo backed that up too. You know, I think we'd be talking about Landon Theo more if Dahl wasn't right there with him in that 1-2 punch. You know, multiple guys do return though in the all district, you know, all state, all league factor. So I think there's a really good core to build from, you know, as we kind of look forward.
Yeah, and you return a number of guys. I think last year before the season started, we talked about you returned so much pitching, and question marks were on offense. Well, this year, you know what you're returning pitching wise, but offensively, you know what you're returning. It's already, you know, how are guys going to fit in because of how many bats are returning, which is a good problem to have. So as we kind of transition, we'll get into the fall and talk those numbers. I want to go back to last season.
Sure.
And we saw guys grow up fast, but looking at some of those underclassmen that are returning to seniors this year, you have to be excited because of the strides they made from game 1 all the way until the final game of the season and watch them grow and develop.
I think you're spot on. You know, and if you really look at our offensive lineup, it was littered with underclassmen. I think we had a really solid core seniors that led us, right? But the underclassmen, I think you look at the top of the order with Oaks leading us, right? Just the straw that stirs the drink type guy, right? You know, finding multiple ways to get on. Unique combination of power with that, you know, that skill set. And the OG's super happy talking about it because he's going to lay that drag bunt down. He can go get it and hawk in the outfield a little bit, you know. And you saw Leather coming out there a little bit, you know, starting to get that confidence a little bit. Nico Cootie coming in there, right? And then you saw some bats starting to come along towards the end of the year and just get super hot. Brady Morton got really hot. Joey Oliveri just stellar behind the plate, right? The guys that maybe were in roles at the beginning of the year started getting more and more comfortable, more playing time. You saw Evan Beard, you know, the guy playing a multi-sport guy for us. That got a lot of playing time there as the DH a little bit for us. And then you saw a couple of those role guys, which I expect to take that next step. You know, Alamini, right? You know, just a solid player there. And then you got a nice core of underclassmen coming. And, you know, the cabinet's full. I know everybody looks at what you graduate in every program, but for us, you know, we know what we're homegrown and we know what we have. We can take it all the way down to the AUs, right? And we know what's coming up, and we know these guys that are hungry. They're battle tested, right? And, you know, not many programs look at a league title, a Sweet 16 finish, right? And know we left some meat on the bone. And I think that's what's motivating this group, you know, as we kind of transition here into our training sessions.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those training sessions later on in this episode. And, you know, I think it's safe to say that how the season ended has kind of motivated those guys. But if you remember last year, we talked to a lot of the seniors that were committed to play at the next level. So we're going to do the same thing this year. So when we come back, you'll be talking to 2 of the committed players of the 2026 class. And we'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back into Homegrown. Joining me and Coach now, we have 2026 left-handed pitcher Landon Thiel and 2026 left-handed pitcher and outfielder Kenyon Oaks, the two-way. 2 of the commits from the 26 class, 2 returning lettermen from last year, 2 players that played very big part in the season success. But guys, we're going to talk about where you're going to school if it's not already obvious by what they're wearing, where they're going to school. We're going to talk about the recruitment process, why it's a good fit for them, talk about some other things, and then get loose and fun here towards the end. But starting there, Landon, you're committed to Ohio State. Kenyon, you're committed to Akron. But let's start with Landon, and then we'll go to Kenyon. What was the recruiting process like for you that ultimately led you to Ohio State?
Yeah, for sure. So, it all started with the rules my sophomore year. So, the sophomore summer, I knew that was the big summer for me. And I knew the big event was the Futures Games in Georgia. And I knew that there was a lot riding on that. So, I went down there, I threw well, and then waited till August 1st was the day that colleges can call you. So, from there, you just meet all the coaches and stuff, and you start to develop a relationship, see what's the right fit. You can kind of tell a lot of things just off just feel and who you feel comfortable with and where you would see yourself succeeding at. And then, from there you narrow it down into schools you want to go visit. And then from there you ultimately go and you make a decision that you're comfortable with. And I've been committed for over a year now. I committed last September, and I'm very comfortable with my decision. It was a great decision. I love the coaches down there. So I knew when I was going to go through my process that it was just going to be, I knew I was going to do it the right way. I didn't want to commit 3 different times, which is popular in college. It's crazy nowadays with the portal and everything. So I knew I wanted to make a decision that was right in my heart, and we talked a lot about it, and ultimately ended on Ohio State, which was the right decision for me and my family, and we're really excited to be a part.
I know they're excited to get you, but we're excited to have you for one more season. Kenyon, same question to you. What was the recruiting process like for you, and how did you end up on Akron?
So, for me, I was a little different. I was not blessed with the height gene, that's for sure. But, that August 1st rule, I had a couple people reach out, but I was really recruited as a pitcher. I had a couple phone calls as a pitcher. I had a couple people come see me as a pitcher. I threw pretty well. And then I got to high school, transferring over here to Jackson. It was my first year as a junior. And, in my mind, I was still a pitcher, but I knew we had great guys like Landon and Jeff and Steve and all those guys from that staff last year. I knew it was going to be tough. I competed, but, at the end of the day, I was Coach Gamble and everyone, really trusted me out in center field with the bat and with the glove. I got a couple innings off the mound, but, a lot of those coaches that wanted to come see me throw, that never really happened. But, I really competed at the plate, and I think that showed off to some of my coaches that contacted me today. I was really comfortable with the guys at Akron. My summer ball shortstop, he's going to Akron. He's one of my best friends. Felt really comfortable next to him. I went to senior future games. Obviously, Landon here went to junior future games. But it was pretty funny down there. I had 2 calls before I ended up committing right to Akron. One called me as a pitcher, one called me as a hitter. I still get the question today, what do you like more? What do you do better? And to me, it's kind of wherever you put me, I'm going to succeed. So Akron really trusted me in both. They were probably the only one to offer me for both. I had a couple schools say, hey, you're going to pitch, hey, you're going to hit. But, I trusted them. When you trust me, I trust you. And at the end of the day, whenever I get in the field, I try to succeed, and I normally do. So,
nice. Question for both of you guys. A lot of future polar bears, right? Watching you guys for multiple years now, and we go here in 26. My kids being one of them. I always like to hear that kind of homegrown mentality of where you've been developed and those type of things. So what advice are you giving to that 12-year-old, that 14-year-old, that 15-year-old, right? Even the guy that hasn't gone through or in the middle of that recruiting process, and it looks like a vast ocean of craziness right now, right? What's maybe 1 or 2 things you would give them from your end of the perspective as advice to them?
Yeah, for me, especially as a young kid, I know I went through this. You can't look at other kids and base your your performance off them, because there's so many different kinds of kids at the youth level. Physicality. Different kids are more mature than others. Sometimes you're just going to need some more time to grow in your body, and that was something that I kind of felt with, because I was big, I was tall, I was lanky, and then I had dudes on my team who were filling out and stuff, and they're obviously putting on better numbers. But you just got to trust that you're going to fill out, and you're going to eventually, everything levels out. And then part two to that is I would just find something that makes you unique. I just went down to Jupiter this weekend, and everybody's got a fastball. It's 89 and 92. They got a nice slider. But, the kids that really step apart are the kids who can change speeds. They can locate both sides of the plate. They can change eye level. And I just think if you learn those from a young age, which I was, very fortunate to start to learn how to pitch at a young age, learn the right way, I think that will kind of set you apart when you get older, because there's so many kids that just focus on the wrong things.
That's a good point.
And, it's just being able to have something that makes you unique. Maybe you got a nice changeup or something. You got a nice two-seam. Just find something that makes you pop out. Right. is what I'd say.
Good point. Kenyon, even to you being a two-way guy, right? I think almost every one of our guys at 12 years old or 13 years old, everybody's a pitcher, right? And everybody's a two-way guy, or maybe a catcher and a two-way guy. Mm-hmm. So specifically talking to you as a two-way guy, what's those one or 2 points of emphasis that you would do? Because you got to, he gets to grind 24/7 as an arm, right? You got to look at both sides. What's something that stood out to you that would be a piece of advice?
So, first of all, I'm going to kind of go back to what he said. I'm a quotes guy, so I always use comparison as the thief of joy. You can't compare yourself to others. Things that he can do are things that I can't do because he's got a foot on me. So you got to worry about yourself. You can't worry about it when anybody else does. Second, I just think kind of hard work and dedication will get you there. You have to be consistent. I know I have that word written down everywhere in my notebooks and my journals: consistency, consistency, consistency. When you stack 365 bricks on top of each other, that's where you get the buildings. One day with one big brick isn't going to do it. You got to be consistent. But going back to that two-way thing, the biggest piece of advice I can give to a young kid is get in the weight room. You got to get strong, and we're not talking bodybuilder strong. We're not talking 500 plus pounds strong. We're talking athletic strength. I think that's the biggest thing. As a smaller guy, I was always kind of the more athletic speed guy. And then when I got to my sophomore year of high school is when I really realized, hey, you want to play varsity baseball, you got to hit the ball out of the infield. I didn't have that. So I really had to work on my strength, my power, all that stuff while building up my speed. And then that gives me the power to kind of do what I'm doing today. And I think being a hitter, I think that rotational power is really good for my pitching as well. I'm sure studies will come out with that in later years, but all that rotation I do, it's kind of the same rotation pitching, and I think that's kind of helped me today.
Good point. I heard a lot of training in there. So let me throw it back at you in the training world. Tell us a little bit about what's a snapshot in your guys' world right now. Let's move forward. What's training like right now for Kenyon Oaks and Landon Field? What's that look like?
Yeah. So I'm really fortunate to be able to work out with Nick LeMay, our trainer. I think most of our guys work out with him, and he's great for a widespread amount of athletes, younger grades, older kids who need different things. So I'm going to him 5-6 days a week because what Kenny said. You take a look at these Division I programs. These kids are big. They got frames. If you want to succeed, you have to be up to par physically, and that's something that I've started to really, really pick up on last 6 months this summer, working out every day, 8 a.m. But usually it's 2 lower body lifts, 2 upper body lifts, and then a couple sprints, core, arm care.
Sure.
With the off season right now. Like I said, I just got done with Jupiter, so I was prepped and ready to go down there. We were long tossing, throwing once a week, going live. So with all that stress on your body, I think really right now what I'm focused on, especially as I'm down, is making sure that I'm doing things the right way, I'm eating the right way, sleeping the right way,
sure.
Training, getting your work in before and after, so that when spring comes around, your body feels fresh, it feels prepped, ready to go because you spent the time prepping when you didn't really have to, making sure your body was ready to go.
Sure. Kenny, same throwing it at you in that same world. Like, what's your training segments like now? Came off a heavy summer, right? Came off a really heavy summer, a lot of innings. And then still staying in the 2A mold. So what's your training sessions look like for you in September, October mold?
Yeah. So, I mean, as of right now, I get done with class, and then I go straight to the weight room here at Jackson. I live with Coach Pollock and Coach Rohr there every day. They've been awesome for me for the last 2 years. That's where I've really lifted other than the warehouse when we start to in-season. But, obviously my in-season versus out-of-season lifts are a little different.
For sure.
For me, being a two-way guy, it's kind of double the training, really. You have to kind of have two different brains, one for the hitting, one for the pitching. When I usually probably get to the facility around 1:30 after my lifts, and that's where I do most of my mobility and dynamic stretching. Going back to the quotes, the best ability is availability. So you got to stay healthy, whether that's through stretching, whether that's through arm care. Obviously, late at nights, I do a lot of recovery. Been blessed to have so much recovery stuff at my house and, go to the warehouse or stuff like other recovery centers and kind of work on my body. And then obviously what Landon said with the sleep, with the nutrition, obviously that's a big portion. You don't consider that training. When you think of training, you think of swinging, you think of throwing, you think of lifting. But honestly, I mean, those are he said, have something that separates yourself. That's what a lot of people don't do. A lot of people overlook the sleep ability. A lot of people overlook the nutrition. And that's really big. But back to kind of the baseball training, I usually do my stretching and then I throw. That's kind of like my core warm-up almost. I hate to call it that.
Yes.
And then after, that's where, I always have a plan with my throwing, different days, working on different stuff. And then after that, usually take a little time off in the locker room, get some water, hydrate, all that kind of stuff. And then that's where I usually go into my hitting. For right now in the off season, I'm working on kind of barrel quality. Obviously in Division I baseball, when you get 92 down the middle, you're expected to hit it. High school, you get 92 down the middle, 95% of the guys swing and miss. But you gotta, in the high school game, when you get that pitch, you gotta hit it, and you gotta hit it hard. Obviously when we get closer towards the season, that's where I start to do some of my contrast training, whether that's heavy bats, whether that's light bats, whether that's curveballs, whether that's two machines for different timing, drills like that. But for right now, I've been using a skinny bat and the smash factor balls off the machine, and for me, that is probably the hardest form of training out there, I think, because you got a skinny bat with a harder ball to hit because it's squishy. And, if I can be successful 25-40% of the time, put a metal bat in your hands, put a real baseball in there, makes it look like a beach ball.
It's a good point. It's a good point, the training mechanisms.
Before we get to the fun, quirky questions, there's going to be a number of people that watch this episode, right? Some parents are going to have their kids that are in the youth here watch it. What is one thing you would tell them, or one thing you could go back and tell your 10 or 11-year-old self about where you're at now?
Yeah, I would just say don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think, like when I was 10 or 11, I wasn't trying to go play college baseball. Like that wasn't even in the picture for me. I was just going out there having fun with my friends. That's, I think, where it all starts. You just gotta enjoy the game. You gotta enjoy being here. But as you get older, I feel like you start to realize this is the grind. You start to fall in love with the process, and you start, right around 14 or 15 was when I realized, this is really something that I feel like I can do in college, maybe even go on professionally, and those are still my dreams. Those are still what I want to do. So I just feel like when you get into the game, that should be like, you should be free. Like you should just want to be there and have fun with it. There was a lot of memories I had when I was 12 and 13 that I could wish I could go back and play with those dudes again. I haven't seen some of those kids I've played with since, I was that age. So I would just say have a lot of fun with it. It goes by super fast. Me and my dad were just talking. That was our last travel baseball trip that we took to Jupiter, and we we've done so many trips, so many stupid stories, so many fun nights, and you just got to enjoy it all because it goes by so fast. And, I'm here in my last high school season. I got probably 200-some days until I'm on a college baseball roster. So, it's a special feeling to know you're here, but I would say enjoy the time you have where you're at. Don't look. I know it's easy to come to our games and say, man, I wish I was playing there, but enjoy what you're doing because, when you get older, you look back on those times and you miss it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think for me, the first thing that comes to my head is something my dad always tells me. He says, you're not as good as you think you are, but you're not as bad as you think you are. Kind of stay in the middle. And obviously, I'll go back to my word, consistency. Just stack days. You're not going to get there in a day. You might not get there in a month. You might not get there in 6 months, but you're going to get there eventually if you keep showing up. Just show up every day. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I played here at Jackson when I was 13. I played here in the fall as a non-Jackson kid. I was lucky to do that. But, you think about these travel teams you grow up on. Are you the best on your team? Some people are, some people aren't. Then take 10 teams in the tournament. Are you the best player in the tournament? Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. If you're not, keep showing up. If you are, keep showing up. Then you take those tournaments, and those aren't even some of the best. Those might not even be some of the best tournaments in the state. Go look at kids playing in Columbus. Go look at kids playing down in Dayton, Cincinnati. Are you the best player down there? Probably not. That's what those Division I coaches are really looking for nowadays because it's so much harder with the roster spots. I mean, say you are lucky enough to be one of the best players in your state. Go to another state. I mean, there's always someone better out there, but there's always someone better than you that doesn't show up. I mean, so if you keep showing up, eventually one of these days you're going to catch them, and that was the biggest thing for me. Again, not being the smallest guy, as Landon said, I didn't really think about college baseball probably until I got to high school. I played on a little Greentown team when I was young, and then I moved to Brimfield for travel baseball before I came here to Jackson. But, me back then, I was just kind of playing to have fun. I was pretty good, but I didn't really know how good I was. And then my first year with the Longhorns, I was really bad, I'm going to be honest. And that's when I realized, this is hard. I went from the best player on my team and then played him in a tournament. Was definitely not the best player in the tournament, And that's where you just got to keep showing up. And, I've showed up every day. I've sweat every day. And, I think that's kind of what got me to this point.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about it? Let's shoot a couple at it.
All right. We're going to go rapid fire here, back and forth.
Okay. First thing comes to mind. I'll go first.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a cloth guy, so let's go. If you go to pants up, down, or this new mid style, what are we doing?
I'll go first. I like long pants, but if you can pull off the mids, then you can pull off the
You're 6'7" and pull the mids off.
I feel like it's usually always mids for him. Yeah, it's always mids for you.
All right, us size people, where are we going?
So I was always a short pants kid growing up, but then you start playing on those crushed brick fields and you tear up your shins and everything like that. So I've always been a long pants guy.
Nice. Where are you going?
All right, staying with uniforms. Black top, white top, purple top for jerseys. Favorite one of those three?
I'm going to go purple, but I love the creams too.
Oh, creams. Sorry, Fred's put the creams in there.
The creams I feel like never get love, and I feel like this year I'm going to bust them out more.
Okay.
I love the purple uniforms, but I'd go with the all-white.
All-white.
I rock the all-white. I rock the purple arm sleeve, and I got to get a pair of purple cleats this year.
Oh, there we go.
Look good.
Getting the cleats. All right, my question at you. All right, because we're all stuck in this world. If you have your go-tos and there's no rules, are we going molded cleat? Are we going metal cleat? Are we going like the sock lining? Are we going lows? Where are we going?
I've always been a low guy, low metals. That's just my thing.
Gotcha.
I think they're comfortable. I always like them.
I was always metals, but when I got to high school, some people wouldn't let you wear metals on turf, so I switched to moldeds, and I really didn't see a difference. So I just keep rocking moldeds.
Staying with baseball. Go to walk up or walk out song.
Mine's a funny story because when I came up my freshman year, I didn't even have a song when I came in. I think Coach G just was like, "Hey, you're in." So
I think the other thing we did is we took the bat out of your hand.
Right? Yeah,
we did it from you.
Yeah, we did that.
Made sure we did that too. We didn't let you get hurt.
But the song wasn't even my song. I didn't even know it, but it's still my song 3 years later.
It was your song. We got it right.
It's still my song. It's kind of just a funny story because it was just a generic song that was on the radio, and now it's my song every time I start.
Nice. Where are you going?
So I did jump around last year. I thought that was awesome. I always listened to that growing up. This year I'm going to go the stroke for hitting, and then pitching.
Staple.
Pitching, I'm probably going to do Shipping Up to Boston. I love that one a lot.
Ooh.
It's a solid show there, too. I think we need walk-up songs for the coaches.
You
Right?
go.
You know what I mean? Walk-up songs for like,
OG.
when they come out to do the pregame stuff. We should each other walk-up song. I'm just putting that vote out there, letting it out there. We can put a fan vote out there. What song I do when I go out to give out the
Ice Ice
lineup, right?
Baby.
Ooh, it's a staple in my house. Come on now, don't let it all out on everybody. Last one for us. How about last one for us? All right, this one we're getting a little sentimental here, but biggest influence for you in your baseball journey? One name, one person.
It's my dad, easily. He didn't play baseball, which is actually kind of funny. He was a basketball player. So, he didn't really know much to start, but he learned more. And I think it's less about the baseball game, just about being there.
For sure.
We're really, really close, hanging out with each other all the time. And just, I have so many memories, like I said, just us going out to Florida and Georgia and stuff like that. So I feel like once I started to really fall in love with baseball, I feel like our relationship even grew even more.
A journey together, right?
Yeah, it was a great time being able to hang out with them.
All right, Kenny Wood, you got it, man. You go-to, biggest influence on you in your journey growing up.
I didn't realize me and Landon had so much in common because my dad was also a college basketball player, played at Kenyon College. But for me, it's been my grandpa for sure. He was actually a college football player at Bowling Green, but he always tells me he was better at baseball and has no idea why he didn't play college baseball. But he lives walking distance from me, and I'm over there every day, probably for about 2 hours, just talking about really whatever, whether it's football, whether it's baseball. And that's really been kind of like my best friend in life right there. My dad always says he tries to stay away because he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he's always taught me how to compete, and for that, love you forever.
That's great. All right, Mitch, that one goes to you too. Biggest influence, baseball. Go quick.
It's been my. Oh yeah, I do have a mic. I forgot my. It's been my dad.
Okay.
It was my dad. I mean, growing up, I still keep him around now when I'm coaching, whether it's during the summer. He
still puts up with you.
He still puts up with me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun being older now. When you're the head coach during the summer, you're the coach. Get out of my dugout. One of those. But heck, he does the press box with the walk-up music still, so he's always around still. But yeah, the answer was my dad.
Yeah, I'm going OG on that.
OG?
One. I think that's not a fair one. Not many people in life can say they played for their dad, right? Mm-hmm. He was the head coach. Then I coached for my dad as an assistant. His last year was my first year. We coached against each other. Go full circle. He now coaches for me. Gets fired weekly, but rehired because of the grandkids.
Extended.
Right? And so I'm going OG on that one 100% for me. So that kind of brings it home.
Yeah, it does. Well, hey, Kenyon, Landon, thank you guys. Everybody out there, you'll be able to catch these guys on the field this spring in their senior season, and we cannot wait to see what is in store for these guys. But yeah, we appreciate you guys hopping on here, and we look forward to the spring and everything else in the off season. Who knows, maybe we'll see you guys on here again.
Yeah,
All right, thanks, Ryan.
sure.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
We'll be right back. All right, welcome back in here to Homegrown. Once again, thank you to Landon and Kenyon for joining us there. Pretty cool to talk to.
That was outstanding.
One taken out for those guys, too.
Those guys got it down. They're getting better. Every time they are. We're getting them ready for those D1 interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
It's our job to kind of prep them.
They learned from the 25 grads. Maybe it took them a couple.
Just paying it forward.
Exactly, paying it forward. But we recapped 25 season. We talked to those guys. Now let's look ahead. We're in the off-season part of the training period with these guys. So what does the fall look like so far for these guys?
No, it's a great question. Right now, this is one of the unique years we have so many multi-sport guys.
Yeah.
And we love that here. I know it always comes off that it's baseball, but we just love guys that compete, right? Mm-hmm. I think we have a record number of fall sport guys between soccer right now and football, for sure. Like you go out to Friday night lights, and we got guys littered all over the place, just competing. So it's kind of made our numbers a little bit more workable from a small group standpoint, but yet at the same time, maybe less for getting groups together, having open fields and scrimmages and everything. But fall training's going on. I think a huge shout out to our coaches, Coach Bala here and Coach Zink, right? You guys been all over the hitters in their small group sessions. Wurtzy, he's doing an amazing job with their infielders, right? He's just grinding on them. I've kind of leaned on the pitching and the long toss program, seen some improvements there. So from the individual groups, I think we've seen a lot of progress there. From the competitive side, we're getting to these Thursday mock squads, inter squad and outside. I think we're getting some great Rapsodo data, right? That's been a really big deal for us right now. Some vids for our guys so they can kind of have time to know what this next, quarter of the year is going to look like when they get in their training sessions. And then on that, they're balancing the recruiting. They're balancing getting the showcases and camps right now. So our job is to get them in shape so they can go put the best foot forward. Get on those, whiteboards, get their names up there, have those conversations, get the DMs in their socials. Those type of things. And that's kind of what we've been kind of building over the last 2 months, really, right? Getting these guys ready for those, getting them ready for their showcases. And that's kind of our mindset, compete and growth, right? Compete, growth. I think that's the biggest thing. And then when we get a chance, every once in a while we take a break, we get to watch a little, MLB playoffs, right?
Yeah. I mean, we cut practice short one of the days to watch Game 3 of the AL wildcard series between our Cleveland Guardians and the Tigers, and got to sit back and watch one of the alumni, Dylan Dingler, play. And sure enough, he hits the go-ahead home run for the Tigers, put them ahead.
And here's a little cheat code for the Tigers moving forward. Anytime I watch, he doesn't get a hit. So I don't watch. I listen to the games. Okay, just let everybody know that. Now I listened, and that's on me because he hits his home run, and I wasn't there watching it. I heard it. So that one's on me,
and
Guards fans. That's my fault, but you're welcome, Dylan.
And I believe Dylan's 1-for-1 in games in which Coach Zink attends.
Absolutely. Coach Zink was there. He was pretty loud, too, so I'm pretty sure Dylan heard it.
That's exactly what it was.
That's a catcher thing. I know
catcher you over here. So these guys were talking about it.
But pretty cool to see one of our alums, seeing one of the guys that were them, when these guys were little, right there on the MLB Network. And the cool thing for me, knowing how that young man is, the humility, how humble he is, but yet the hunger inside. I think the one thing everybody noticed out there is he was calm.
Yeah.
I bet he's not inside, but he reflected as a catcher what you're supposed to see, what you're supposed to do, right? And that's what I think everybody loves throwing to him. The rocket arm probably doesn't hurt, but and being up for a couple awards here and in the postseason probably doesn't hurt either. But I think we're just super proud of him. For me, I'm super proud of him because of the man he is, the husband he is, and representing just Stark County, right? And we got 4 or 5 guys in the bigs right now. Though a couple guys from Canzone and the guy from my office.
Feltner.
Feltner's up there. K-Nick obviously is up there. You got DeCenzo.
Yeah.
And help me out. I lost my guy from Glen Oak.
Ryan Berger.
Oh, Ryan Berger.
Yeah, for the Royals.
I missed him. I keep missing him. He's from the 2020 season.
Yeah.
Right. But that clash would have been him and going against Trent Jones, Ohio State guy. What a matchup. The what-if matchup. Our what-if matchup. We'll leave that one alone because that one's still, I have that compartmentalized up there for myself. But moving forward, growth, competitive juices, and then now we're transitioning ourselves here really to what we call winter one. The November, December here, getting ready to transfer to that. So.
Yeah, we're still going to soak up the days outside while we can.
Absolutely,
because we're going to be
beautiful.
As soon as you think we're going to get outside in the spring, you don't get outside in the spring. So we're going to soak it up. But Coach, wrapping up episode 1 here. There is one big announcement we wanted to talk about moving forward, and that is the Angry Bear 5K is back for year 2.
Yes, year 2, man. What a committee, what a crew leading that charge. I know Keely and her committee, Wakefield and her committee are doing an amazing job. We have tons of great ideas, sponsors, fun race day events that are going to be happening out there. December 6th. I know we're moving pretty fast. We're getting a lot of people registered right now, and it's moving pretty fast, which is exciting for us. I know the kids runs at 4:15, that fun run. We'll leave that alone for a fun run for us. That's a real run for us, but it's a kids' fun run, and then 5 o'clock, the 5K, and then we'll let it go. We'll see the crazy outfits out
the fun run, is that the one Zink won last year?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. So if somebody wants to come beat Zink in the fun run, make sure you sign up for that one. If not, the 5K, like Coach just said, starts at 5 p.m.
December 6th. Yes.
December 6th.
Yep, absolutely.
So make sure you sign up on that. It's all over social media everywhere. But other than that, Coach, we'll be back for episode 2 eventually. We thank you for tuning in. Go Bears.